Supporting videos for the Good Practice Guides for Coffee Seed Production and Coffee Nursery Management, an initiative of World Coffee Research with support from Sustainable Harvest. Video 2. Substrates and Containers. What is a substrate? The substrate is the medium in which your plants will grow. You can buy commercial substrate or make your own. If you make your own mixture, the percentages of the materials that compose it must be adjusted for each stage of growth. An ideal substrate will be soft to the touch and have a loamy texture. It will have the capacity to absorb water, but with good drainage and aeration. It must facilitate the germination of the seed and the development of healthy roots. In addition, the substrate must be free of large particles, stones or other objects. What are the characteristics of a good substrate? Good substrates have a combination of three basic elements: drainage, organic matter, and structure. Drainage. The substrate must allow the drainage of water to prevent it from accumulating. This is because an excess of water favors the appearance of diseases, nutritional deficiencies, and poor root growth. Organic matter. Organic matter makes the substrate fertile, lightweight with good aeration, and it favors the proper growth of roots. Structure. Good structure allows the plant to be removed from its container without the substrate falling apart, and favors the retention of moisture and nutrients for healthy development. The right balance between these three elements produces a stable and fertile substrate for developing plants in the nursery. How can you test homemade substrates to ensure they are good quality? Texture test. You need substrate, distilled water, hydrogen peroxide, and a dish for organic matter testing. Test 1. Take the substrate, moisten it with distilled water and attempt to make a small ball. Then, you'll check the ease of assembling the ball, its number of cracks, and the texture. Test 2. Form the substrate into a small roll and then follow the same process to analyze each characteristic. Test 3. Place substrate in a bowl and add hydrogen peroxide. The greater the reaction or bubbling observed in the substrate, the more organic matter it contains. pH and sedimentation test. You need distilled water, substrate, transparent glass container, and pH strips. Place some substrate in the glass and fill it with water. Then, cover the container and stir well so that the substrate dissolves in the water. Then, measure the pH of the solution, immersing the pH strip in the water and observing the strip as it changes color. An optimal pH level for coffee is between 5.4 and 6.8. To test sedimentation, again stir the glass with water and substrate. Leave it to stand for 24 hours to observe how the components of the substrate are separated. After 24 hours, you will observe the relative amount of sand at the bottom of the glass, followed by silt in the middle, and clay at the top. The color of the water is an indicator of the amount of dissolved organic matter. The clearer the water is, the less organic matter it has. The darker it is, the more organic matter it has. The results of this test indicate the general texture of the substrate. If it is very clayey, very sandy, or if it has a loamy texture. These results can help you make decisions. For example, if the substrate has too much clay, it will have good structure, but may need organic matter added to prevent it from compacting while the plant is in the nursery. Clay substrates tend to have drainage problems, which can lead to diseases or nutritional deficiencies. A substrate that is too sandy will have problems retaining moisture and nutrients. At planting time, the root ball will not maintain its shape, and there is a risk of exposing the roots to dehydration. The ideal result of this texture test is the substrate of loomy texture that has neither too much sand nor too much clay, with a good content of organic matter that will prevent it from compacting. If there is too much clay in your substrate, a source of organic matter such as vermicompost, horse or cow manure compost, or coffee pulp compost should be added to the mixture. If the substrate has too much sand, soil or peat moss should be added to the mixture to provide more structure. Remember, a field test is not a substitute for laboratory analysis. To learn more, you can consult the Good Practice Guide to Coffee Nursery Management in Module 2 in the section called Substrates. How should you select the type of container to use based on the characteristics of the substrate? Knowing the characteristics of the substrate can help you to select the most suitable container. There are three main types of containers used for coffee plants: the bag, the tubette, and the Elipot. Nursery bags are the most common, and they are ideal for heavier substrate. They are also good for plants that stay longer in the nursery, since larger plants need more space for the roots. Choosing the correct size of bag to use will depend on how long the plant will be growing in the bag. The tubette, on the other hand, is a small and light container, with many advantages for handling. However, it should only be used with light texture substrate, because soil with too much clay can become compacted and affect the development of the roots. Finally, the Elipot is typically filled with peat, and special machinery is required to fill it. It has many advantages for handling and healthy plant development, and it does not generate plastic waste. To learn more about containers, you can consult the Good Practice Guide Coffee Seed Production in the Plant Selection section. How can you ensure your substrate doesn't have pathogens? The last step in preparing the substrate will always be disinfection. Disinfecting the substrate prevents disease outbreaks. There are several disinfection methods available: biological, chemical, or physical. Disinfection treatments should be carefully monitored to ensure they have been effective. To learn more about this topic, you can consult the Good Practice Guide Coffee Nursery Management in the Module 2 section called Substrate Disinfection. Remember, the success of your nursery depends on using a good substrate and the right container. This video summarizes the Good Practice Guide for Coffee Seed Production and Coffee Nursery Management, an initiative of World Coffee Research. Find the guides, videos, and more information at worldcoffeeresearch.org.